Oreo truffles, you're going to need 1 pack of Oreos, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and some chocolate that is melted. And I ended up cutting the recipe in half, so I only used half a pack of Oreos and 4 ounces of cream cheese. So the first thing I did was I took all my Oreos, I broke them in half, and then I put them into the blender to crush it up really finely. But if you do have a food processor, that will be a lot easier. After it's completely finely grounded, I went ahead and poured that into my bowl and took out a little bit for later. Then I put in my 4 ounces of cream cheese, and then I tried to keep my hands clean by trying to use a fork, but that just did not end up happening. So I used my hands, and you can see here, like, I'm trying to keep my hands clean, but really, like, your hands are gonna get messy. But after you have it completely mixed together, you can take a bit of that and form it into a ball just by rolling it between your hands, and then put it on a piece of parchment paper that is on a baking sheet. And you just want to continue doing that until you have the amount that you want, and then you just want to refrigerate that for about 15 to 20 minutes. After they are cooled down, you want to put that into your melted chocolate, and I think my chocolate was kind of already cooling down, that's why it's kind of hard to spread. Chocolate does cool down very fast, so you have to work kind of quickly, and you can also add some decorations and stuff. I added some Oreo crumbles on top and also some sprinkles like I did on this one. So as you can see, I'm filling the spots with some extra chocolate, and I'm just doing the exact same thing, just dipping it into the white chocolate and adding the topping of choice. So this is the finished product after the chocolate has completely hardened, and here I am trying out the truffles, and let me just tell you, these are so freaking delicious. You have to try them, and these were actually super easy to make, and that's amazing coming from me because I cannot make food for my life, and bless whoever made up this recipe because it is freaking amazing. I'm just when I finished them, I was like, I need more because they were so good. So I would definitely give this a 10 out of 10. For these little hash brown cups, you are going to need 2 large potatoes, some Parmesan cheese, and also some chopped onions. So the first thing I did was I just peeled my potatoes, and I just used a regular peeler, and once they were bare naked, I went over to my grater and I just shredded up my potatoes on the coarsest setting, and the article recommended to actually buy the pre-shredded hash brown shreds, and after trying out this recipe with real potatoes, I thought it would be a lot easier to actually buy the pre-shredded potatoes, and by the end my potatoes kind of looked orangey, and I think that's because I was taking too long, but it honestly only took me like 5 to 10 minutes, which I don't think is that long. This just kind of ended up being really messy because you have to actually squish out all of the excess liquid for the hash browns to be crispy in the end. Mine did not end up that crispy, so I tried putting them in between some paper towel sheets, but that was just very tedious. But by the end of that, it just takes so long that your potatoes end up turning orange. So after they were kind of dry, I put them back into the bowl and added 2/3 of a cup of Parmesan cheese, some chopped onions, and also some salt and pepper. After that, I just mixed it up. I just ended up switching to a larger bowl, and after that I took my muffin tin and I prepped it with some cooking oil, and then I just plopped my mixture into each of the muffin little hole things, and then the article said to pack it down lightly. I think that's where I made a mistake because I packed it down way too hard, and maybe that's why it didn't really cook thoroughly. But I preheated my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I left it in there for about 45 minutes until they were fully cooked, and then after they were cooked, I took them out and I let them sit for about 15 minutes to cool down. I used a spoon and just plopped them out of the muffin tin. I added some ketchup onto the sides because without the ketchup, honestly, I just really did not like them. Maybe it's because I don't like Parmesan cheese. Like the cheese in there just didn't taste that great. And you can't really tell on camera, but it has this sort of gray undertone which makes it look like it's rotten, which obviously isn't very appetizing, but I think that's because the potatoes oxidized a lot. So if you do want to make this, I would definitely recommend getting the store-bought hash brown little shred things, because that would be a lot easier. I would give this one a 6 out of 10 because it just wasn't that easy and I don't think it was worth it in the end. So for these ice cream bites, all you're going to need are some large bananas and also some chocolate chips. So I ended up using 3 bananas and I just sliced them up, and then I lined my baking tray with some parchment paper and just laid my banana pieces on there. And then you're supposed to put those in the freezer for about 1.5 hours, but it just would not harden. I ended up putting it in for about 3 to 4 hours, but while I was waiting for those to harden, I prepped my muffin tin by spraying with a little bit of cooking oil. And once they were completely hardened, you can see, because when you tap it, it should be pretty rock solid. So I put those all into my blender and I blended those up, and this took quite a lot of effort. I had to keep mixing it up and then blend it, keep mixing and blending, but eventually it did turn into this really smooth looking creamy mush. And after that you can go ahead and add your chocolate chips in there. And now I plopped my mixture into the muffin holes. I still don't really know what the name is, and I just use a spoon to kind of flatten out the top, and then you can go ahead and sprinkle some of those chocolate chips on top just to decorate, and then you can go ahead and put that into the freezer once again until they are completely solid. I just used a knife to kind of carve them out, and they melted really quickly, so that's why you can see some of the leftover on the muffin tin. I was expecting it to be a lot more solid. I'm like low-key drooling over this right now because when I tasted it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally the best thing ever. It's so easy. It's only 2 ingredients. It tastes so good. Like, how is this even possible? But it is. I would give this a 9 out of 10 just because they weren't as hard as I thought they were supposed to be.